Hello everyone, welcome back to English with Sony Hedra. I'm here with another free English lesson for you. And today, as you can see on the screen, we're going to be talking about the usages of the present continuous tense. And I do hope by the end of this lesson, you will be able to use this particular tense properly. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start by reviewing the form, the present continuous tense. And on the screen, we have the forms of the present continuous tense. On the left hand side, we have the present tense of to be, comprising is, am, and are. The usage of each of them will entirely depend on the properties of the subject, whether it is singular or plural, and whether it is the first, second, or the third person. Right, and on the right hand side, we have the present participle, which is made up of the base form of the verb plus ing, or some people might say bare infinitive plus ing. In case you are not familiar with them, I will be doing another video regarding this. For today, then, we will just assume you are all familiar with them, right? Okay, now let's simplify a bit in order to give some degree of simplicity. Let's refer to this form of present continuous as present be plus verb be, right? Now we are going to take a closer look at these forms of the present continuous in three different forms: the positive, negative, and question. And now we have the positive form on the screen. And the pattern is subject, present be plus verb be. And all the forms of present continuous are rep type, as you might notice. The first, the man is walking. She is speaking fast. George is eating sandwich. They are knocking at the door. Mark is washing his face. They are playing football. Nicole is having lunch. And now the negative. To go from the positive to negative, all we got to do is add not between present be and verbing. For example, the man is not walking. She's not speaking fast. George is not eating sandwich. They are not knocking at the door. Mark is not washing his face. They are not playing football. Nicole is not having lunch. Okay, now the question. The patterns present be plus subject plus verbing. To go from the positive to question, we can simply reverse present be and subject by moving present be before the subject. For example, is the man walking? Is she speaking fast? Is George eating sandwich? Are they knocking at the door? Is Mark washing his face? Are they playing football? Is Nicole having lunch? Right. That brings us to the second point of our talk today, which is about the usages. And the first usage of the present continuous tense is to talk about an action that is in progress at the time of the utterance or speaking. In this sense, present continuous is used to describe an action or event which is in progress at the time you make the utterance writing regarding the action. So the duration of the ongoing action being described includes the time of the utterance. And you've got to pay attention here because this is quite important. How is it possible? So the time of utterance, as you might understand, is quite short compared to the time of the action itself. So it is possible that the time of utterance is included within the duration of the action. In this context, you're not interested in either when the action starts nor when it ends, because you only view the action from the time of utterance, writing as a reference point. To emphasize this, you can use such adverbials or time markers as now, at the moment, at present, currently, still, right now, just, etc. Now, to give a clear picture regarding the situation, the context, right, we have the timeline below, going from left to side, and we have the past here on the left-hand side, the future being on the right-hand side, and the present at the center. And this line indicates time of utterance. This red square represents the duration of the action being described. Okay. Now let's take a look at some sample sentences. Pete is watching TV now. Okay, so here the action of watching TV is carried out by Pete is taking place, and imagine yourself being there, and you can watch Pete watching TV. There is somebody else there, say your father, and you are being asked by your father, what is Pete doing, right? So you can answer, you can reply by making this statement, by making this utterance to your father, by saying, Pete is watching TV now. Okay, so by the time you say that statement, Pete is still watching now and not finished. So the time of your statement is included within the time of watching carried out by Pete. Right? I hope that's clear. The second sentence, look, the dog is chasing your brother. Okay, now imagine yourself being in a park, right? Along with your friend, okay, say John and his little brother, and suddenly a dog comes and soon chasing John's little brother. But John is not aware of that because he is not saying in that direction. And you know that because you're looking in that direction. And then you report this occurrence to John, okay? And you say to John, look, the dog is chasing your brother, pointing to that direction, right? I hope that's clear. Now, let's look at other samples. She's reading in her room at the moment, right? So imagine yourself is the brother of this particular girl, and you are being asked, for example, by your mom, asking you, what's your sister doing? And then you answer, you reply to your mom, she's reading in her room at the moment. Okay. So by the time you are saying this statement, the reading activity is still ongoing. It is not finished yet. Okay. Right, now the next sentence. Where's mom? She's just cooking in the kitchen. Okay, now imagine yourself at home with your mother, but you are in another room, your mother in the kitchen, and you are, for example, in the living room. But you know that your mother is cooking because you have seen your mother, and you get back to the living room, and there you see your sister, and she's asking you, where is mom? And then you answer, because you know your mother is cooking now in the kitchen. She's just cooking in the kitchen, right? And you are pretty sure that when you say that statement, your mother is still cooking in the kitchen, right? Because cooking takes time. Right. Now let's move on to the next. usage, the second usage. The second usage of the present continuous tense is to talk about an action taking place around the time of utterance. In this sense, present continuous is used to describe an action that is taking place around the time of utterance or writing, and not necessarily happening at the time of utterance. In this context, the action that is very likely to be frequently interrupted up until its completion in the future. The action is taking place over a period of time, around the time of utterance. The time markers are these days, this month, this semester, this year. Right. To get a clear picture, we have the timeline here, right? And this timeline is quite different from the first timeline for the first usage, because we have two types of lines here. The first one is a straight line, unbroken, and the second one is a broken line. This straight, unbroken line indicates that the action is not interrupted, right? Whilst this broken line indicates that the action or the occurrence is interrupted. Okay, now let's look at some sample sentences. Rachel is reading an interesting novel. So this action of reading is interrupted, okay? Because Rachel, as a normal human being, it's impossible for Rachel to read the novel round the clock, 24 hours, because she needs to take a break. Maybe she gets tired, right, of reading a novel, because a novel might consist of hundreds of pages, okay? So it takes time to finish that novel. It might take days, weeks, even months. And now you know that Rachel is reading this novel, and then you meet up with, suppose your father in a restaurant, and then your father is asking you about Rachel, what Rachel's doing right now. And then you answer by saying Rachel is reading an interesting novel. And you are sure that by the time you say this statement, Rachel has not finished reading. Okay, so the action of reading, as carried out by Rachel, can be indicated by these broken lines. Here it means that Rachel is reading. Okay, in the middle of reading. Here, Rachel might be taking a break. She might be having breakfast, lunch, right? Going to university. Okay, so this sentence, Rachel is reading an interesting novel, is an interrupted action. Okay. Now the second one, they are working on the new project, and the explanation is similar. It is an interrupted action because as human being, it is impossible for them to work round the clock. They might be tired and need some refreshment. Okay. Next, John is writing his thesis. Similarly here, right? Because John needs to take a break. Next sentence, the river is flooding this week, following 2 days heavy rains. This is a great example of uninterrupted. After 2 days of heavy rains, of course, the river will get flooded, and the duration of this flooding might occur days or weeks, right? And this is non-stop. So that's why I consider this occurrence of the flooding as an uninterrupted action. And by the time you say this statement, the river is still flooding, right? It's not over yet, right? The last example, Rick is flying the plane non-stop from Sydney to London. Again, this is a great example of long action which is uninterrupted. Okay, so Rick starts to fly his plane from Sydney to London non-stop until the plane lands in London. Okay, so know that Rick is flying the plane. You see his plane took off, right, from Sydney, but you are pretty sure that the plane has not reached London, and then you make this statement. When somebody else is asking you where Rick is, and then you can answer, you can make by making this statement. Rick is flying the plane non-stop from Sydney to London. I believe that for a plane to fly from Sydney to London takes more than 24 hours or close to 24 hours. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson today. I do hope that you've got a clear picture regarding this topic and you're able to use present continuous properly so it can improve your English. But there will be more videos to come because this present continuous has many usages. Okay, to figure out, all right, what we have learned so far, we have an exercise. In this exercise, you are supposed to complete the sentences using the following verbs in the correct form after considering the context, right? So here you go. There are two problems that you got to solve, right? You are being asked to complete these two sentences by using the words in bracket. So you are looking for the correct form, all right? The supposedly missing words. Of course, I'm giving you the answers below, but you can pause the video to think of the answers. Okay, I really happy now that we have finished our lesson today, and I do hope that it can improve your English. Thanks for watching. Talking to you soon because we have more videos to come. All right, cheerio.